Kentucky Afield. Every week, Kentucky Afield brings you features on hunting and fishing across the state.
What a nice fish.
It's an opportunity to hopefully get that bird in play.
Hey, we got another one over here.
There he is. Ooh, a nice one too. Boy, he's healthy.
What do we got? That was awesome. Got the first belt.
Barely made it out in the field.
Got one. Big smallmouth.
Very nice.
Double point. They're in there.
There they go.
Look at that joker.
Woo!
That's a good one there.
Look at that.
Beautiful. Whoa, this is a good one.
That's better than good, Chad.
Hello and welcome to Kentucky Afield. I'm your host, Chad Miles, and tonight we're here to talk about turkey. The season is right around the corner with the youth season coming up on Easter weekend, April the 4th and 5th. I have a panel of guests here to talk about the turkey population as well as the upcoming spring turkey seasons. Immediately to my left, I have Zach Danks, who is our turkey program coordinator. How you doing?
Doing great, Chad.
To his left, we have Wes Little, wildlife biologist. How you doing?
Good.
And then answering all of our law enforcement questions, we have Sergeant Robert Owens, who is a game warden out of the 7th District. How you doing today?
Sir, appreciate it.
You know, there's a whole lot to talk about. The season's right around the corner. Turkey populations, we've been doing a lot of trapping and a lot of monitoring of the birds. Tell me a little bit about what you expect this upcoming season.
Yeah, so turkey populations foremost on a lot of our sportsmen's minds. They're concerned about the population, but I think there's reason for optimism. Last couple of years, we've seen really good hatches. 2 years ago, it was really good in parts of western Kentucky. So this year, the birds produced then will be 2-year-old vocal gobblers, and the majority of gobblers we harvest in any one season are 2-year-olds. And there's more of them out on the landscape. So I think we're going to see a good, strong harvest in western Kentucky and central and eastern Kentucky. But also, looking ahead, there's going to be a good harvest next year and the next 2 or 3 years because we had a really, really good hatch in central and especially in eastern Kentucky this summer. Those are important. These cicada hatches are very important. Unfortunately, they only come around every 13 or 17 years. Mm-hmm. And the reason they're important, because they provide an alternative food source for all the predators that would otherwise pick off a hen on the nest or young poults, defenseless poults running around. But they also provide food for that mama turkey and the little poults running around. So all that to say, in the intervening years, we don't have a big cicada boom. I think we'll be talking about habitat here in a little while, but that's really important to kind of level the playing field. But all that to say, turkey population is pretty strong, and I think hunters are going to have some good shots at success this spring.
Everybody, when the cicada hatch takes place, everybody is just well aware that it's going on during that period of time, but it's amazing how it goes from nothing to a massive amount of cicadas.
Yeah.
And a month later, we kind of forget about it and it's gone again. But for the turkey population, it's interesting. You talk about the right timing for the turkeys to be eating all of those just nutrient-packed little treats, mm-hmm. but also everything else that's feeding, not needing to eat turkeys because there's a food source that's even easier and readily available. What other animal species that could be impacting turkeys will be eating cicadas and make that a dual benefit for the turkeys, not only for the turkeys to eat, but also to be avoided?
Yeah, I mean, most of the predators of turkeys are able to take advantage of ready food sources. So a lot of folks everybody likes to blame coyotes for every problem just about. And yes, they do pick off turkeys on occasion, but they are omnivorous. And I grew up watching them catching mice in CRP and hayfields back home. And they, if given the chance to gorge on cicadas, because they're everywhere, they're going to do that, mm-hmm. because it's just that much more beneficial to them, and they don't have to waste a whole lot more energy stalking these turkeys that are just very difficult for them to catch. Mm-hmm. In terms of animals that would get eggs, that could be your raccoons, possums, skunks. Well, they're definitely gorging on cicadas. when they're available. So it's like a distraction, it's a diversion for those predators. And we really think that probably helps the turkeys in years like this. And it's just one of those things that should alert anybody that's interested in the turkey population should be interested in growing more turkeys. And to do that, you need more bugs on the landscape. So it's great having cicadas by accident, but try to have more bugs by design, and that's the kind of thing wildlife biologists can help you with. And if you're doing everything else proper on your farm, and in terms of thinking about the number of turkeys you take, patrolling it, and making sure you know poachers and things aren't having undue impact, then habitat is a really good thing, folks.
Well, that's a great leadway. Let's talk habitat. I mean, we've heard from Zach that we've got more 2-year-old birds in certain parts of the state, Western Kentucky, a lot more 1-year-old birds due to the cicada hatches over the last 2 years in other parts of the state. What are you working on habitat-wise I mean, we got to feed these birds, right? We got to make sure they've got cover and areas to nest. What are you guys doing for that type of work?
Yeah, so it's a busy time of year in the wildlife division specifically. So we're finishing up banding, helping Zach with research. You know, we put leg bands on turkeys. We're driving at getting harvest details there. We put backpack transmitters on a select number of hens. We band hens and gobblers, but then February rolls around and now everybody is geared up for burn season, prescribed fire. It's on everybody's mind. It's been a wet year, but we're still managing to knock out hundreds and hundreds of acres at a time, working through the weekends even. We do a lot of timber projects anymore, so not just throwing fire into grass fields, but looking at our woodlands. And historically, you know, Kentucky would have been an oak hickory woodland, a lot of savanna, which would be scattered oak trees, a lot of grass component, and we virtually have lost that habitat type. And in the wildlife division on our WMAs, and even working with private landowners near our WMAs and across the Commonwealth, we're trying to get as much of that habitat back as we can. So thinning the woods back out, getting some of the beech and maple, the fast growing stuff that you're going to get in a early successional habitat that's let go, trying to get it back to some grasses, some native wildflowers. Zach mentioned the bugs. That's where they come in. The more wildflowers you have, the more bugs that you can have for the turkeys and other critters to get after. And so trying to get back to that native habitat component that would have been there before the woods just were let go. Uneven management, so lots of older trees, some middle-aged trees, fewer early successional or fast-growing stuff. That's what we're after, instead of what you see now, which is virtually, you look at it, it's all maples and beeches and a few oaks scattered in there. We're trying to knock back some of that fast-growing stuff and let the slower-growing species that the wildlife species we like to chase, they thrive on that. So that's what we've been doing.
As far as invasive plant species, what do you guys primarily battle when you get out on the WMAs?
Yeah. So I'm here in the bluegrass region, and that is invasive species ground central. You know, we're right between Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington. A lot of Walmart home centers selling stuff that leaves your yard into the wildlife or into the landscape. And so we've got bush honeysuckle, Sericea lespedeza. Those are probably the biggest two. A lot of autumn olive, and there's, you know, anything from burning bush, you name it, it can get loose. Some miscanthus, some of there's lots of different names for the grasses you see. If you go to Red River Gorge, that grass that you see all over the hillsides, it's not supposed to be there. So things of that nature. And so anytime you work in the woods, if you open up a canopy and let some sunlight in, anything can grow. It's not just what you want. So we do come in behind that and evaluate what we're seeing, and from there treat as needed. So fire is our number one tool, because you can burn a lot of acres cheaply, quickly. Herbicide, we use it when necessary. It's expensive, and it takes a lot of boots on the ground to make it happen. And so that's another tool. And then mechanical treatment, we literally will go to some spots. Bush honeysuckle, for instance, the best thing you can do is grab one, pull it up. They're fairly easy to pull up for a shrub. And so all three of those we use on our WMAs, and especially this time of year as we're gearing up to get ready for turkey season.
Talk to me a little bit about how you promote growth of insects. There's a lot of insects that we want numbers of insects for our wildlife species. Maybe not the ticks, but talk to me about how you guys promote growth of insects.
Yeah, so I can talk about both, because prescribed fire in the woods is proven to reduce tick populations in the woods. So that's one thing. If you get into a WMA where we've been throwing fire on the ground, you should encounter fewer ticks. But the bug species that we're mostly, you hear the word pollinator anywhere from Washington, D.C., policy setting, pollinators are a big deal. And on the landscape, it's always been a big deal for anything from turkey and quail, grouse. They're feeding on bugs just as much as they are acorns, or different species go through cycles throughout the year where they need different amounts of fat, protein, carbohydrates, you name it. They have to have all of the things necessary, and bugs provide a huge bump to the nutrition leading into nesting season, leading into breeding season, and then, as Zach mentioned, once the poult's running around, they got to have stuff that's easy to get to too. So a natural wild field in Kentucky would have looked like a lot of wildflowers, a little bit of grass here and there, some spots thicker than others. It should be a mosaic, and the more wildflowers you have, the more species of trees growing you have, the more insects that you're going to attract to that area. So that's the goal, is to set it back wild.
Very cool. Well, thanks for that update. We'll talk a little more about that. I'm sure we'll get more questions on it, because a lot of people on their properties, they want the hardwoods and the hardwoods only, but you're saying, a good mixture of not only the hardwoods, but the early succession stuff is also really important, right?
Absolutely.
All right, now let's hear from Sergeant Robert Owens. Thanks for coming out today. What are you working on when it comes to this spring turkey season?
Just trying to get ahead of the season, actually, is our main focus, as far as getting flights, trying to combat illegal bait sites and things like that, freshening up on regulations, making sure that we have coverage across the areas in our district, is mainly the focus right now, until season comes in, obviously.
Well, there's a couple of changes that recently happened when it comes to hunting, especially our wildlife management areas. Talk to me a little bit about what those changes are for this year.
Yeah, the most recent one that I receive a lot of questions about, that I think there's some misunderstanding, is the bag limit on WMA. A lot of people think if they kill one bird on a specific WMA, for instance, in my area like Dewey Lake, they think they're done. They can't go to another one, which they can, based on the way the regulation is wrote now. So as long as you haven't exceeded your bag limit on, say, private, you can kill one on one WMA and go to the next WMA and take another bird.
Okay. So the rules and regulations for everyone is 2 birds, right? 2 birds that can be taken with a shotgun or any other method of take per hunter. Only 1 bird per WMA.
Correct.
But you can kill 2 birds, but you have to hunt multiple WMAs. You can't go to one WMA 2 days in a row and kill 2 birds, right?
That's correct.
So that allows it to spread the pressure out a little bit on the wildlife management areas to give a couple of other individuals opportunities to hunt, right?
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about baiting, because there's a time period that is already passed where putting out bait for wildlife has passed. What is the rules and regulations on how far before you hunt a site are you allowed to have bait out?
So currently, like the regulations you were just talking about, is March 1st to July 31st outside the curtilage of a home. You cannot hunt that area 30 days after the bait's been removed.
Okay.
Once that exceeds that date, obviously it's available to hunt.
Yeah. So it should have already been picked up and been up for, it should have been not put out since
March 1st.
March 1, but it can't be out there on the ground at all. We're already within 30 days of the season.
That's correct.
Okay, well that is good to know. So we want everybody to know out there, make sure that all that bait has been picked up for a while now and is no longer out there on the landscape. Well, we're going to do a couple of fun things today. We are actually going to do some trivia questions. We're going to hope you play along at home. We have 10 trivia questions. Hey, right beside you guys, you should have a dry erase board there and a marker, as well as a piece of cloth to wipe the papers off. We're going to ask a couple of trivia questions. Like I say, play along at home. These are all about turkey hunting and our upcoming turkey season. This should be a lot of fun, and then we're going to get to all your questions. So if you have a question, make sure you're texting that to us now, and we will get to those in just a minute. All right, guys. This is going to be 10 questions. It's going to be multiple choice, A, B, C, or D. We'll go one at a time, and when we get to the end, we'll see how we did. All right? All right, very first question is Kentucky's modern wild turkey restoration primarily began in what decade? And we'll give you some multiple choice. A, 1930s, B, 1950s, C, 1970s, D, 1990s. So in what decade did our modern wild turkey restoration primarily begin? A, the 30s, B, the 50s, C, the 70s, D, the 90s. Everybody got an answer? What do we got? Oh, you can just do them one at a time and then erase them if you want, so I can see them here.
Oh.
What do you got for
Turn
one? Yep, turn it over. We got C, C.
I'm sorry.
So you wrote 70s, George.
I already failed.
Oh yeah, no, you got it. You got 70s.
I was shouting out to George Wright here, by the way.
Yeah.
So he was the architect of the turkey restoration.
Yeah.
I call him St. George, by the way.
If you're a
But
turkey hunter,
he started in the 70s.
if you're a turkey hunter, that's a name you should know because he kind of got the whole restoration program started here in Kentucky, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. All right, so you can erase those so that I'll be able to see the answers.
All right,
we'll
all
just go one at a time. Sorry, I should have gave you a little bit of heads up.
I'm a nerd. That's okay.
All right, we're 3 for 3. That's a great start. All right, second question. What method was most effective in restoring wild turkeys in Kentucky? A, pen raised releases. B, trap and transfer of wild birds. C, placing turkey eggs across the state. Or D, crossbreeding with domestic turkeys. All right, what method was most effective in restoring wild turkeys here in Kentucky? A, pen raised releases. B, trap and transfer of wild birds. C, placing turkey eggs across the state. Or D, crossbreeding with domestic turkeys. Everybody ready? And the answer is, you all got it, B. That's interesting because we did go through a phase with some bird species trying to do pen raised birds, but tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
With turkeys, how does that work?
They tried it in many places, many states. They tried game farm released birds in the way back, early 1900s, even up into the 50s, 60s, and it just did not work. They just had bred the wild know-how out of those birds, and it was only when we used wild birds, that the few that were remaining on the landscape, and states were gracious enough to share those with other states. And you had transfers between states, and once a state's population got built up, then it could sustain itself. That made all the difference.
Yeah.
So, unlike pheasants, for example, you know, some states raise pheasants, and a few of them will carry over and breed, but turkeys just don't do well when they come from pen-reared stock.
And it's so interesting because as a fish and wildlife agency, we're so used to the fish side working so well, where you can raise so many young species or minnows essentially, and turning those loose as fry, it works so well. But in birds, it just doesn't work, does it?
Nope.
All right, next question. So if you're thinking about raising your own wild turkeys and turning them loose, don't be doing that. It's going to be pretty fruitful.
Save your money and spend it on habitat.
And it's illegal. So.
Yeah, and it's illegal. So there you go. Next question, question 3. How long does a hunter have to telecheck a harvested turkey? Finally got one for you here. You're 2 for 2 though. You're doing good. How long does a turkey have to telecheck a harvested turkey? A, immediately. B, within 6 hours. C, by midnight of the same day. D, within 24 hours. How long does a hunter have to telecheck their harvest turkey? A, immediately. B, within 6 hours. C, by midnight the same day. D, within 24 hours. Question or answers?
Oh, I missed it, I think.
Yep. Answer is C, by midnight of the same day. So that was a law enforcement question. So, all right. Nice job, guys.
I need a little longer sometimes.
Next question. This is an interesting question. I did not know this question, I'll be honest with you, coming up. The heaviest wild turkey ever recorded by NWTF from Kentucky weighed what? This was the heaviest wild turkey ever recorded by NWTF, and I think this is a world record. The answers are A, 31.1 pounds, B, 33.7 pounds, C, 35.4 pounds, or D, 37.6 pounds. The heaviest wild turkey ever recorded by NWTF was from Kentucky, and it weighed what? A, 31.1 pounds, B, 33.7 pounds, C, 35.4 pounds, or D, 37.6 pounds? This is a tricky one.
John Boy says take C.
Wow, I knew this was going to be tricky because I had no idea. This is according to the NWTF website. The world record weight for a wild turkey taken is from Kentucky by David Cody Guest in Lyon County, Kentucky in 2015, weighing 37.6 pounds. 37.6 pounds. We don't measure trophy turkeys by body mass or weight. I'm not sure why NWTF has that, but that is what they have on their website. So
Interesting.
I knew that was going to be a tricky one because I would have never guessed that either.
I didn't know.
It's a giant bird, 37.5-pound bird. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, the next question here. Number 5, when using a pump action or semi-automatic shotgun for turkey hunting in Kentucky, what is the legal maximum capacity in the magazine, not including the round in the chamber, right? So when using a pump action or semi-automatic shotgun for turkey hunting in Kentucky, what is the legal maximum capacity in the magazine, not counting the one in the chamber? A, 1 shell, B, 2 shells, C, 3 shells, D, 5 shells. Let me go over them one more time. A, 1 shell, B, 2 shells, C, 3 shells, or D, 5 shells. How many is allowed in the magazine, not counting the chamber? All right, what do we have? 2. Everybody's got it. B. Explain that to our people out there who may be a new hunter.
Yeah, so the gun that you're using, typically a shotgun for spring turkey, it's got to be capable of holding 3 shells total, which is 2 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. Therefore, that gun has to be plugged.
And if you go to put your shotgun shells into a semi-automatic or a pump gun and you can get 3 in before you've either racked it or you've put the 1 in the chamber, then it's capable of holding 4. You got 3 in the magazine and then 1 in the chamber, so that would be a total of 4. So you put 2 in, and then if you can get a 3rd one in, then your gun's not plugged, correct?
That is correct. Probably should be finding a plug before you take that.
And that's one of the things you guys, the very first thing you check when you come out, isn't it? Is make sure you got your license and how many shotgun shells can you hold. All right. Good job, guys. All right, we're on to question number 6. Here we go here. Which habitat component is most critical for brood rearing hens? A, early successional habitat. B, mature hardwood forest. C, open fields with bare ground. Or D, dense conifer stands. Which habitat component is most critical for brood rearing hens? A, early successional habitat. B, mature hardwood forest. C, open fields with bare ground. D, dense conifer stands. This is kind of tricky because you talked about a mosaic. A couple of these are really, really important, right?
Yep.
All right, but we're talking about the most important component for brood rearing hens. Well, what do we have?
Okay, I'm giving the it depends answer. A is the biggest, C is the next biggest, and B is the least biggest.
You said A is the biggest, and you wrote it the biggest. A is early successional habitat, and you're right.
Yeah,
that's what we said.
Right.
That's a little bit. That's a little bit of a tricky question. Now D is kind of
Yeah, we don't need conifer plantations.
We don't need the conifers so much, but the others are all important. Tell me why we picked A though.
Yeah, so nesting cover is the number one. So you can have mature forests with a lot of acorns and 0 cover on the ground, and that's almost useless for the brood rearing hen, where thick undergrowth gives them a place to nest, get away from predators, and ensure success. So you want something thick and woolly, a diverse species, a lot of flowers, a lot of grass, mixed components, briars, you name it, anything early successional. That just means the early stage of growth. Could be something different in the woods than it is in an open field. The trick is something woolly.
Yeah. All right. There you go. So I like your answer. A, B, and C. Forget D, but A, B, and C. They're all important. Next question here, number 7. Is it legal to use electronic calls while turkey hunting in Kentucky? A, yes, B, no, C, only on private lands, or D, only on public lands. Is it legal to use electronic calls while turkey hunting in Kentucky? A, yes, B, no, C, only on private lands, D, only on public lands. And your answer, B, B, A. Is it?
No, must be.
I'm sorry, you got A?
Okay.
Is it legal to use electronic calls? So
I misunderstood.
is it, you thought it said, is it illegal?
Illegal, yeah.
Is it legal? So the answer is B, no. Talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about electronic calls, because they're becoming more popular with all the predator hunting. It seems like everybody's got some form of electronic call right now. Tell me about using electronic calls while turkey hunting.
Yeah, you can't even possess them in the field when you're turkey hunting, obviously. But now, as far as coyote hunting and stuff like that, a lot of people, like you just said, that's what they're going to, is electronic calling.
Yeah.
But as far as for turkeys, you can't even possess them in the field with you.
Okay. Is there any other type of calls rather than normal friction or wind mouth style calls that are legal that people may have questions about? Is it pretty much box call, slate call,
mouth
mouth
calls,
calls,
yeah.
and that's pretty much it, right?
Yep.
All right. Next question. So if you got that Fox Pro or that call and it's got turkey sounds on it, don't take it. It's not legal. You don't want to get that taken from you. All right. Next question. Which factor most limits turkey populations long term? Habitat quality is A. B, hunting pressure. C, predator control. D, disease. Which factor most limits turkey populations long term? Is it A, habitat quality, B, hunting pressure, C, predator control, or D, disease? You guys ready? What do you got? Everybody's got it. A.
I wrote that real big, Ted, because that's a good discussion question that you have with hunters in real time. Predator control is a big deal to a lot of private landowners, but the mindset is if you have native habitat, that turkey grew up, he evolved with predators. So good proper habitat, a smart turkey knows how to hide from predators. So predator management, not against it, but in the long term, habitat means more than anything else.
And think about that. So the Department of Fish and Wildlife, yes, we do a lot of habitat work. But if you look at the grand scheme of how many acres we're impacting yearly compared to how many acres are in Kentucky, it's a smaller percentage compared to how many acres that predators are involved with, how many acres that hunters are hunting, how many acres that law enforcement is patrolling. When you start thinking about the average landowner out there, what they can do for the turkey population, we can set rules and regulations as an agency on how many birds that hunters are allowed to take, right? And what time of year that they can take them. But you want to have the biggest impact long term, it's habitat.
That's right.
Would you not agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's habitat is the main key. So there you go. Next question, number 9. How many primary tail feathers does a typical adult gobbler have? I would not have got this one either. How many primary tail feathers does a typical adult gobbler have? You already know the answer before I give the...
I think so. I think we're close.
All right. A, 14, B, 18, C, 22, D, 26. How many primary tail feathers does a typical adult gobbler have? And I would not have got this right.
I'm taking a guess.
A, 14, B, 18, C, 22, D, 26. All right. B is the answer. Yep,
hey.
B is 18. 18. You guys were all over it. 18.
They were.
And I don't know if there's a difference between primary and...
That threw me a little bit because primaries usually refer to the wing feathers, the main wing feathers.
Okay.
Of which there's 10 on each wing.
Oh, okay.
So then I'm like, okay. I don't usually count the rectrices or the tail feathers.
I'm not really sure where we got the answer, but that's what our sources
I'm sure it's right.
I think he was.
Yep.
You got it right.
Wes thinks
I'm pretty
he's
sure
right.
it was accurate.
That was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think Wes wrote that question, actually.
Probably did. No, I probably missed it.
Number 10. All right. Number 10, why do gobblers often go silent after they fly down? All right. A, they're focused on predators. B, they are feeding only. C, they are with hens. Or D, they cannot gobble on the ground. All right. Why do gobblers often go silent after they fly down? And we're going to assume this is during the breeding season, right? So why do they fly down on the ground during the breeding season? A, they are focused on predators. B, they are feeding only. C, they're with hens. D, they cannot gobble on the ground. All right, everybody got their answer? All right, you got the Cincinnati Red Sea on there, I see. All right, we got C, they're with hens, and that is correct. All right, guys, we did a pretty good job there. This last question about gobblers and flying down and going quiet, you see that quite a bit?
Oh, yeah.
And your experience out hunting?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that tests the patience and nerve of even the best turkey hunters. I mean, you put all this work into scouting or getting a place to hunt. You hear a bird, you're really excited. You know it could happen right off the roost. It could happen real quick. Sometimes it doesn't. If you let your guard down and you get flustered or fall asleep or get a little too curious looking around, you're liable to get busted. I mean, yeah. Sometimes he's with hens and sometimes he's coming to you because he thinks you're a hen after all.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's unnerving, I guess, sometimes when you've heard nothing from those birds. And a lot of times you just got to be patient until later in the afternoon or later in the morning or afternoon when they do break off from those hens. Hens go off to nest or whatever, but it's frustrating.
I'll tell you what, there may not be a more exciting aspect of hunting when, they start gobbling on the limb before they fly down for quite some time. And a lot of times when you get there and you park your truck and you're getting your gear on, you're making sure you got everything, and you hear them just hammering away on a limb right where you're getting ready to walk. And every year I fall for the same thing. This is going to be quick. And it never happens that way. Very few times do I end up getting a bird right off the roost. Usually you walk in, you set up, you get everything set right where you want it. You've scouted it out. The birds are roosted right there. They're gobbling like crazy. And you hear them come down, and you see them head away, and then about 2 or 3 or 4 hours later, they end up making their way back sometimes. So,
or the hens beat them to the ground, and they go to them instead of you.
They go to them instead of you. Yeah, I tell you, that's the way it happens more often than not. So if you're a new turkey hunter, patience and not moving around too much is probably going to be your best bet. When you hear birds come down and take off the other direction, it's really hard to sneak up on a turkey, isn't it?
It is.
It can happen, but it's really, really, really difficult. So, all right, well, that was fun. Now, I'm not sure what the final tally is. We'll get that here in a minute, but all in all, that was really good. So now we are time to get to our viewer questions. So hopefully you guys have been submitting your questions. We're going to start getting to them. Our first question: my experienced hunting buddy is taking me turkey hunting this season for their very first time. What is one piece of advice that you have for me as an older first-time hunter? What's the best way I can learn more before we go? What expectations should they have? Wow, that's a lot of questions, and this is great. This is a person that later on in their life decided they wanted to get into hunting. They've got a mentor, so that's perfect. They got step one taken care of. They got a mentor and a person that's going to take them out. What's some advice that you'd give them?
Have fun, relax, and be still.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing if you're coming from being a deer hunter and now you're going to try turkey hunting, and I'm assuming this person was a hunter but not a turkey hunter. Deer hunting, you're always trying to figure out how to beat their nose, right? It's all scent control, it's all wind, and now you're going into something where I don't really care what you smell like when you get out there turkey hunting, do you? It's all about those eyes and beating those eyes, and ears. They can hear too, but beating those eyes is the most important thing. So what about you? What kind of advice would you have?
So first off, thank you for taking time to mentor another hunter. So you have, when you think of mentor, there's two things you're thinking about. You're taking a kid hunting, or you're taking a new hunter. And in the agency, we've learned that a kid, they still have to grow up. They still have to make the decision to become a hunter, even though you've taken them. But the adult, there's a higher probability, if they enjoyed their hunt, that they become a lifelong hunter, or at least a hunter for a long time. So thank you for taking the effort. And Zach said, having fun, that's number one. When you go out, don't set expectations based on a YouTube video. That's the worst thing that's happened to hunting lately, is everybody, you got to have the pile pick, right? You know, it's always bragging rights on social media or whatever. Get out, set realistic expectations. Let's hear birds. Let's have fun with our turkey calls. Find good habitat. If you know what that is, take them to what good habitat is. If turkeys don't show up, they don't show up. But you can teach them the basics, and then when they go again, they recognize when a set pays off. So patience, have fun, stick to the basics.
And what's the best way that they could learn a little more before they go out there? I mean, what kind of advice would you give someone that wants to learn a few things before they get out there?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, and we have web pages dedicated directly to learning how to hunt the various species, learning how to fish. So our R3 program, that's recruitment, reactivation, and retention of hunters. They offer various field to fork programs, so teaching you the classroom setting, this is what you should expect. Take you hunting, and then even bring you back to show you how to dress your animal and cook it to prepare it at home. And so there's various programs like that. And then I think we have Find a Mentor, things of that nature. So you can go to our website and find a load of information for new hunters or mentors, I think.
You said something that it's a conversation I have with viewers with Kentucky Afield all the time. They come up and they watch the show and other outdoor hunting shows. You know, we can turn an all-day turkey hunt into 6 minutes of video. It doesn't take 6 minutes. When you're out there, learn to appreciate everything else going on around you. If you're only going to be excited if you see a male turkey within 50 yards, well, then you're missing a little bit of the point of turkey hunting, right? It's all the other wildlife species that you see, that sunrise coming up and other predators moving around and birds and hearing the owls. I mean, that's really the experience of a hunt.
One of my best memories turkey hunting was with my dad. I was home from college, and in my coursework I was learning bird songs. And these are, you know, I'm not just talking cardinals or things around the house, but I was hearing a summer tanager, a bird that breeds in the tropics. Or winters in the tropics, and it flies here to breed, you know, so it travels long distances. And if you're not looking in the tops of trees and know just what to look for, you're going to miss this blazing red, because they don't stand out eye level like cardinals do. There was a lull, we weren't hearing gobbling, and I pointed it out to my dad, and he like, wow, you know, once he started honing in and listening, he could hear it. And it's like, but he never told him. Yeah. So little things like that, you just never know. Same thing with plants or morel mushrooms. I mean, you can really get into everything. There's so much more to it. It keeps your mind sharp, and you know, maybe get lucky and have a bird surprise you. But there's so much to enjoy.
And that's why if you watch the show, a lot of times as time's passing, you'll see our videographers are great. They'll get, you know, there might be a deer crossing, there might be a squirrel here or there. I mean, that's kind of our way of showing you. It wasn't we got here and 20 seconds later a turkey popped up in our face. You have to enjoy those aspects of it. And that's one of the best things about watching good produced video, is that you're seeing everything else that's taking place around you. So don't set your expectations so high that you've watched 10 turkey hunts that lasted 6-8 minutes on camera, that you're out there for 2 hours. You're like, well, this ain't gonna happen. It's pretty typical that it doesn't happen in the first hour, or maybe not even the first day. It may take a couple days. So how about you? What kind of advice would you give for this individual?
I'll just touch on the permits and stuff, licenses, just making sure they have the proper permits, which is a spring turkey permit, if they're resident or non-resident, based on, you know, where they're located, the licenses, and then hunter education if they meet the January 1 to 1975 after. Make sure that they complete that course before entering the field, and then also equipment, plug shotgun.
Yeah, there you need to have a plug shotgun. And listen, get that gun to the range. Test out your ammo with whatever choke tube that you're shooting or whatever barrel you're using. Get to the range, see how that gun's going to pattern. You know, youth season comes up first. youth season comes up. It's Easter weekend. I believe it's the 4th and 5th. Is that right? April 4th and 5th. It's going to be here before you know it. If you were taking a youth hunter that was pretty good with a gun, spent some time with a shotgun, at what distance would you have them pattern that shotgun?
I mean, no more than 30 yards. I know people with loads today, it's totally possible to take a bird beyond that, but encourage the kid to let the bird get close if at all possible. It'll teach so much more than just, it's just, there's so much more to it that he's going to be worked up, and the closer he can get without getting too close. I mean, that's just the prime, that will always be the distance you need to kill turkeys, no matter the load that they develop.
Yeah.
So
I completely
where you
agree.
need to start.
And when it comes to going out and becoming comfortable with that load and that gun, patterning your gun, you definitely don't want to be over 30 yards. You might even want to pattern a little bit closer than that, and get them used to seeing exactly what that load's doing, because really that's the distance you're going to want that bird.
Yeah.
You allow a kid to take that 40-yard shot, 45-yard shot. You very well could spoil them a little bit, because there's nothing where if you hunt long enough, you're going to lose a bird, or you're going to lose a deer. That is part of it. But making sure that you did everything possible in your power to avoid that happening, because there's no worse sinking feeling than knowing I should have done better, right? Don't put that on a kid right off the bat. Let them take that bird within 30 yards and make that shot, and tell them it's okay if we have to wait till next year or the adult season, which is right around the corner after the youth season. They can go out and hunt during the adult season as well, the general season.
That's right.
Next question, why do turkeys use my property for a few days then disappear for periods of time? And is there anything I can do to get them to stay around longer? So this person I'm going to guess, this person's seeing a lot of birds before the season and is having trouble seeing birds during the season. Let's talk a little bit about what they can do, why that's happening, and what they can do to avoid that.
Short answer is every bird is different. Some birds are homebodies and some like to take off. We had a transmitted bird that was entering his 2-year-old year, so his first season as a mature gobbler. He had been hanging out in one farm, and he went like 8 miles up the river. This is a different bird than the one I was showing you guys about. This was we caught him as a Jake, and between, I think it was April 1st and opening day of season, he went 8 miles up the river and was harvested that day on a different place. So anybody that was, expecting him to show up, I mean, he wouldn't. And it just all manner of variation. It probably has a lot to do with the quality of habitat and the amount of pressure that those birds are under. So, if there's another plug for habitat, it's that, you want to do everything you can to stack the odds in your favor. You can't control them. I mean, they're wild after all. They're wild turkeys. That's what we want. We want them in front of our shotgun, but we want them to be wild. That's part of the challenge. That's why we don't just, go to a turkey farm and shoot domestic turkeys. We don't do that.
And
so
the thing
there's
is,
going to be variability.
We talk about turkeys and some of them being homebodies, but if you spent much time on a big body of water in Kentucky, you've seen turkeys fly rivers. You've seen turkeys fly lakes. I've seen them fly over Nolan, Rough River, Green River, you name it, parts of Dale Hollow. They can make long distance flights if they got the pressure and they decide they need to go for whatever reason. They're not just a ground walking bird. They can fly and they can cover some distance if they decide to go.
Yeah.
So
hens especially will.
Yeah.
And they're completely reactionary too. I mean, a turkey that's hit the ground the same spot 3 days in a row may hit the ground and see something they don't like. And guess they're not hanging around, they're gone.
They're gone.
So that it could be very simply when they came down, they saw something they didn't like and they went to the neighboring farm and didn't come back. So sometimes it just happens that way.
What type of habitat would you say if you were going to go out and plant 1 or 2 things and say, hey, I'm going to try to give turkeys on my property something that will make them stick around, what would it be?
So I don't plant anything first. My goal is always evaluate what you have and see what you can remove to make it better, because our seed banks are full. With the exception of maybe in crop country, you take a crop field, that seed bank's been hammered for decades. It's a little different, but you take most of our landscape is pasture, woodland, and the seed bank is intact. So sometimes if you have a fescue field or even just a field border that you can give up a little bit of herbicide to get the fescue out of the way will make something explode, and then you can start looking at, do I need to add to it or do I need to manage selectively? Is there invasives that need to be handled? Invasives is usually my number one, but that's a heavy fight. You got to get in that one for the long haul. But I usually don't recommend planting anything. Food plots wise, food plots are neat. You can attract a lot of species to a food plot, and if you leave a food plot, that becomes fantastic early successional cover. So you plant it year 1, year 2, you just leave that food plot standing, almost invariably whatever the species, unless it's like a cool season oats and clover or something like that, it'll stay the same. But the rest of them, it changes. And so I'm not as much on planting something to attract as I am addressing the habitat that's there. And I'll plug our private land staff. We have a staff of men and women that do nothing but help on private land. So you can go to the website and find your nearest private lands biologist and get loads of recommendations on what to do on your farm.
All right, very good. Good information. Here's the next question. This is regarding shot size. Man, this is a good topic because there's so many changes that have taken place. What shot is legal and not legal for turkey hunting? It used to be easy, 4, 5s, or 6s in lead. Now there are just so many options. So first talk about what is legal.
Nothing larger than 4 shot, obviously. It could be lead or non-toxic, but like we discussed earlier, there's many different loads these days. But 4, no larger than 4 is the answer to that.
Okay. So if you wanted to use 4s or 5s in steel, will that take down a turkey?
It did for years.
Yeah,
That's all I ever used was 5s and 6s for me.
Okay.
Was
all right. Because I know that do we have WMAs that require non-toxic shot or steel shot, not non-toxic? Can we shoot turkeys? Do you have the energy with steel? Do you feel really comfortable with doing that?
I know migratory birds, yes, but turkeys, I don't think so. I think you can hunt with whatever. Is that right?
Yeah, most of the steel shot are your dove fields on WMAs.
Okay.
We'll double check the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service refuges just to make sure. I'm not.
Because non-toxic.
Probably not, but just be sure.
Non-toxic nowadays, when you start thinking about that, a lot of the heavy stuff is also non-toxic, right?
And superior to standard steel.
And much heavier, denser, a lot more knockdown. So that's a really good option. A little more costly, but you're probably taking a couple of shots a season maximum. So that might be the way to go. Interesting enough is some of the waterfowl loads that people pattern their shotguns with, you got to be careful. Some of them actually have a mixture all the way down to 3-shot. I know some of the black cloud stuff has 3-shot. So you got to be careful with that. It might be great for waterfowl, but it might not be legal for turkey hunting. So be careful with that. What are you guys shooting this year? What type of load?
You know, I ran out of my good shells, so I hate to say it, but I'm probably shooting good old nitros.
Okay.
Just because I haven't bought any in a while, and I really like the, my goodness, what's the 3-shot 789? I'm blanking on the brand right now, but
there's a couple different ones. Heavy shot has one, and then some of Migra has some of those. And
my goodness, I'm blanking, but yeah, it's good old nitros for me this time.
12 gauge?
Yeah.
12 gauge.
Killing with as much as I can. None of this messing around.
I shoot 12 gauge, but that's because that's what I own. My daughter sometimes will use a 20 gauge, but even she likes the 12 gauge better. My gun likes heavy shot ammo through a heavy shot turkey choke, so that's the current gun that I use. But my entire turkey hunting career, I did not use the heavy shot. I just used some of the longbeard.
Longbeard. What number are you shooting?
Typically, 5s is the sweet spot. 5s and 6s. I usually don't shoot 4s.
Yeah. 5s and 6s. You go turkey hunt this year?
When I get time, I like to try, but when I do, it's hard to find the shells anymore as the federal flight control shells for me. And 5s.
Okay.
The gun that I shoot likes 5s pretty well. So.
Yeah, I'm shooting, when I shoot lead, that's what I'm shooting, 5s as well. And that's what my gun shoots. And I have experimented the last couple of years with the TSS and the tungsten that shoots really, really well. Man, it just puts a massive amount of material out there in a nice pattern. But you got to be careful on some of that too. That doesn't mean you're getting longer range, because man, with a lot of those 9-shot, it's a little bitty hole you're poking through there, and a lot of people love that stuff. And I know it works well. I've seen the results. I like a little, even though it's heavy, I want a little something bigger hitting them. So if I'm shooting the TSS, I tend to like the 7s. I like the 7-shot and that rather than the 9s, because just bigger, But there's so many options out there. The number one thing is make sure that it fits your gun and patterns well. So get out to the range, and if you got something that works, I love how you were like, both of you guys were like, hey, I know, and you as well, I know what my gun shoots well. No reason to mess with the recipe. If it's working for you, then that's what you use, right? Next question, is there any evidence that bearded hens have better maternal instincts? I've never heard this before.
No, I'm not aware of any published literature about it. I've heard some people mention it. I'm not sure where they're getting it. If there's as yet unpublished studies, then maybe they'll come out. But it's just that bird happens to have a little more testosterone that she produces a beard, but there's no reason to think she's better or worse at raising. Yeah. At least not that I'm aware of. So maybe that'll change someday. But right now, bearded hens. We know of bearded hens on our studies that have reared broods just like, non-bearded, your standard non-bearded hens.
Yeah. And what percentage of the population are we thinking?
5-10% probably.
Have beards?
Yeah. Now the harvest, it's less than 1% that we actually shoot. But in the population, it's probably more than that, probably 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. That's what the best estimates show.
All right, this next question, this is from one of our young viewers. It's actually a little girl that I know, Willow Brockman. Thanks for watching, Willow, from Shepherdsville. She wants to know the different types of turkeys and their feather colors. So in Kentucky, we primarily have what type of turkey are we?
Just the eastern subspecies of wild turkey.
Okay.
Meleagris Galapavo Sylvestris. That means forest. So it's the bird of the eastern United States, which is forest.
And as far as the color, just give Willow a brief overview of the color.
Shiny black with brown, and on their head it's red, white, and blue. Its legs are kind of reddish, brownish. Spurs are black.
But man, they have just a beautiful iridescent color.
Yep.
I mean, it
looks greenish, orangey, and the light hits it right. It's magnificent.
If you had an eastern gobbler's tail feather spread out, you talked about the brown and black. It's banded. Kind of tell her what that looks like.
Yeah. The very tip of it is a lighter brown, and then there's a stripe as you go from the top to the bottom. It'll be light brown to black, and then alternating narrow bands of black and brown all the way down.
And then other birds that not in Kentucky, what's the difference between some of the other birds? Tell me the other species of turkeys we have in the United States.
Yeah, well, there's 4 other subspecies in Florida only. Southern part of Florida, central southern Florida, they have the Osceola, or Florida turkey. It looks very similar. It's just, you would have to have them side by side to be able to tell them apart, and often there's not that much difference. And then there's, as you move west, there's the Rio Grande subspecies of turkey, which is in the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma. And as you go north, the Merriam's turkeys across the northern Great Plains and the mountains, and then down in New Mexico and in Mexico is the Gould's turkey.
Okay.
So those all look pretty much like our eastern subspecies.
But here, Kentucky,
in Kentucky,
eastern,
we just have the eastern one.
Eastern and eastern only.
To get down to the Yucatan Peninsula, look that up on your map. That's an interesting looking bird. We had a friend, a coworker, get to go hunting down there, him and his wife, and I think they had a good time. The ocellated turkey. It's beautiful and just exotic looking. So.
Now, is that a turkey that kind of almost looks like it's got stuff hanging off it, like almost like a peacock?
Looks like a peacock almost.
Peacock, yeah.
Yeah, very different.
Very different type of turkey. Okay. All right. We've got questions about predators, and what predators have the biggest impact on turkeys? So we talked a little about this earlier, but let's talk a little bit about predators that, first non-nest raiders, and then let's talk about nest raiders. So non-nest raiding turkeys that actually will impact the turkeys after they've already hatched and are on the landscape.
Yeah.
What type of predators do we have to worry about there?
Yeah, so the big three are bobcats, coyotes, and great horned owls.
Wow.
Great horned owls people don't think about, but they will hammer a bird who's gobbling on the roost. And we've had some taken out in our studies. It's pretty interesting. But when that gobbler sounds off, he's taking a risk. You know, just like a bunch of guys being ornery and running around town, you know, trying to find a girlfriend can get into trouble. Well, that can cause a gobbler trouble because that owl is designed to figure out exactly where he is. And so you lose some that way. Coyotes and bobcats both are able to take adult turkeys, and they do. All three of them take gobblers, they take hens, they take them on the roost, they take nesting hens when she is nesting on the ground, roosting on the ground at night, incubating her eggs. But throughout the year, it's pretty hard going if you're one of those predators. I mean, our studies and lots of other studies are showing that hens in Kentucky, they have about a 70% survival rate. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty good, 75%. So you think about that over the course of a year, most of those coyotes, you may call in when you're calling. A lot of people have done that, and they see them stalking turkeys. That's just what they do, man. Mm-hmm. They're predators, super predators. That's how they make a living. Doesn't mean they kill everyone that you see. Yeah. And bobcats, I mean, they wouldn't be our state land grant university, my alma mater's mascot, if they weren't fishing at something. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool. But those are the non, nesting. I mean, they kill adult big turkeys. And, again, two of those three you can hunt and trap and have at it. It's great. Just try to pair that, whatever predator control you're wanting to do with habitat work like has been talked about.
You know, it's interesting, you talk about, a lot of times people ask questions about why do birds gobble only certain times of the year. And, I've heard gobbles in non-breeding times of the year. They don't lose the ability to gobble, right? But you talk about it being a risk. It could be something that over years and years and years, it's just the ones that were loud and vocal and took that risk year long just don't make it. I mean, that's bred out. It's like there has to be a reward worth the risk, and I guess it's breeding.
It's a balance. That's what nature does over the course of eons. It balances things out. You have some turkeys that just tend to gobble more. Yeah. And you have some that tend to be tight-lipped. Yeah. Like people,
Kind of need a little bit of both on you when you're hunting them, because the ones that gobble and tend to be really aggressive probably aren't going to last.
It varies, though. It varies day to day. Yeah. So one day the birds may be fired up, and the next day they may not be. If you by luck, bad luck, choose to go on the day they're just not really gobbling, doesn't mean they're not there. Yeah, yeah. And once hunting starts, hunting pressure has definitely been shown to reduce the amount of gobbling. So some people say, oh, our season comes in too late, they're all gobbled out. Where they don't hunt them, they have done studies that show they have this nice steady progression from late February, March, peaking in late April, it carry into May, all throughout till the end of June, basically, they're still gobbling, where you can't hunt.
I want to talk about that for a second, because people have different styles of the ways they like to hunt. If I'm going to hunt the same piece of property, I know there are quite a few birds on there, I'm going to really limit my movement for the first couple days. I'm going to do a little bit of scouting. I'm going to listen where I think they're at a couple days before the season comes in. Man, when you get up and you start moving and you start really running gun style hunting, which don't get me wrong, it's the most fun, but you do risk the chance of, one, making those birds harder to work, or two, pushing them completely off the property. So if you have a piece of property that it's private, that you have the opportunity to get on there, you might want to take a little less aggressive approach a couple days if you know you're going to be out there for a few days in a row, because it's hard to hunt a bird that's gone. It's completely off the property you have permission to hunt. It's kind of rough to hunt that bird. Or quiet.
Or just go either one of them. Research, some birds take one strategy of running off. The other birds, they just sit tight, but they're tight-lipped. Yeah. So either way, moving around, lots of activity. We see it on public lands a lot. A lot of this research is it's very clear on public land, but the same would go for private land.
Let's talk real quick. We had this predator thing. Tell me about some of the nest raiders that We talked about predators. Let's talk about some of the nest raiders.
So anything that eats eggs, from skunks and possums, snakes, even some of the woodpecker species, if they can find a nest, there's nothing a woodpecker likes better than to crack an egg open and eat that yolk. But the big ones are going to be your skunks and possums and snakes. That's what most people think. Crows, absolutely. They're the various birds that'll attack. And coyotes. Coyotes will absolutely gobble a nest up. The big take home that I always try to preach is, you know, we've all seen that hayfield with one little stand of trees right out in the center. That's a predator magnet. You know, there's nowhere for that turkey to hide, and then there's one small spot to hide. That predator only has to work that one small spot, and it has a higher likelihood of finding a turkey that's nesting there or what have you. You take a CRP field or grown-up piece of property, that turkey could be anywhere across there. So habitat management is the key to avoid that. If a predator can hone in on a specific spot and find a higher probability of hitting a nest, you're going to lose that nest before you lose one that's scattered out in a field that has lots of early successional growth.
One of the things I can't believe we haven't mentioned today, and it comes up at every one of these shows and it hadn't been said, so I think it's time to mention it, mowing. Do we not have to worry about turkeys? The nests are pretty much, at what date would you say, if you want to increase your turkey population, do no bush hogging, no mowing until what date do you think those birds big enough to kind of move and get out of the way? What would you say?
No earlier than dove season.
Okay.
September, October.
Yeah.
Because every year I get reports of little poults in September, first couple weeks of October. So they came from a hen that got that brood on, hatched those eggs on her third attempt, probably.
Yeah.
Fourth attempt. It's possible. But
yeah.
I mean, if you really care about it, do not get on that bush hog until the leaves start changing.
Yeah.
You know, it's no sense in it.
Yeah.
If you're cutting hay to make a living because you're a farmer, that's one thing. You got to make a living. But if you can avoid it, do it. There's no sense in it.
You talk about nest raiders. There's not a bigger nest raider in the state of Kentucky than a lawnmower or a bush hog.
Absolutely.
If you're on a piece of property that you got a lot of turkeys and you're trying to make it easier to hunt, you're probably doing more damage to your turkey population.
Yeah, and just look at that as the first step. I mean, we biologists, we like to talk cream of the crop. You know, like Wes is he's in charge of wildlife management areas throughout the bluegrass region. And he and his guys, they manage to the hilt. I mean, they do it right. The average guy who may not have been dipped their toe in the habitat world yet, first thing to do is just look at what you're doing now, and that could entail not mowing during the critical periods. Save that for later in the late summer, fall, or early spring before they even start nesting. Do that first, and then get a handle on that. Then you can start looking at some of the other things, because I mean, I'm telling you, fire is the way. We've got to get fire across the Kentucky landscape. Research shows that where it's prevalent, those nest raiders, their prevalence is lower.
Yeah.
They do the main offenders like coons, possums, and skunks. They're not as abundant. They don't occur to as great a degree in spots that get burned a lot.
Yeah.
But guess what does? Turkeys.
Yeah.
Within days or even hours of that burn.
Yeah.
So there are training opportunities across the state now. The department can set you up with the Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council, and you can be doing it. I've worked with, we both for years worked with landowners that have done this, and it is pretty gratifying. When a landowner pulls off a burn, nobody got hurt, fire didn't get out, they're all trained up, the fire department knows what's going on, the neighbors knows what's going on. It's a good thing.
And now's the time for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All year long, we offer learn and burn workshops. You literally do the coursework online, and you show up, and we pair you with department experts and go out on real fires and teach you how to do a prescribed fire. So check out our learn and burn program if you're interested in putting fire on your farm.
All right, fantastic. Next question is from Remington Owen. He wants to know how old each of us were when we took our first turkey. Do you guys remember your first turkey?
I do.
Absolutely.
How old were you?
I was a freshman in high school, so how old are you when you were a freshman? It was
You're
the spring of my
15,
freshman year.
probably?
Spring of 1997, so yeah,
Okay.
I was 15.
15 years old.
Yeah.
Do you remember who you went with? Were you by yourself?
My dad.
Oh, you're with your
Yeah.
dad?
Oh, it worked out perfect. It was a Jake.
Yeah.
And we got there, heard a bird gobble right off the roost. We got set up, and it happened. It was one of those that happened right off the bat. And I just got lucky. But we got that thing home, drove it to school even. I was showing
okay.
my buddies in the parking lot at school, so I'm super lucky.
Was it your first time hunting or just your first time
turkey hunting.
successful?
Yeah, well, I had imaginary turkey hunting because I'd watched his videos for a year or two before that.
Yeah.
Hunter Specialties.
Yeah.
Old school Primos and
Oh, yeah.
videos and things, Night and Hail. But that was my first turkey hunt, and it worked out for me. So
It used to be when you go buy a packer, 1 or 2 calls, could be a mouth call, whatever. It'd come with a CD. You'd pop that CD in and watch all the experts show you exactly how to
I got
use
to
the
meet
call.
Will Primos a couple years ago, but I still remember the cassette of his I had.
Oh, gosh.
Where he was talking about enunciating sounds with a mouth call. So still got it.
How about you?
16 years old, grew up on a farm, but it was actually on the neighbor's farm right next door. I remember driving, seeing the turkeys in the field, and got permission and drove next door, and turkey did just exactly what it was supposed to. That was my first bird. Was a textbook hunt. Never forget it.
Well, that's awesome. Now, was it your very first hunt ever, or was it?
No, not my first turkey hunt, just my first harvest. My uncle had taken me several times unsuccessfully, usually because I couldn't sit still and bump birds more than waiting on them. But
that'll happen.
I don't remember my exact age, but it was around 15 or 16. That was the first time. It wasn't my first hunt. Plenty of hunts, unsuccessful, but around 15 or 16 when I killed my first one.
Mine was later on. Later than that, actually. When I was real little, we just didn't have that many turkeys. And then I got into fishing, and April is a good time to be on a front of a fishing boat. So I spent a lot of times listening to birds and thinking, as a bow hunter, one of these days I'm going to get into turkey hunting and get a shotgun and turkey hunt. But mine was later. I don't even know the exact age, but it was definitely later on than
I think that's good. That's a great example for people, Chad. Hunting can be intimidating, I would imagine. I just think that probably a lot of people are a little hesitant to take up the sport without good mentors or role models. And so hearing that, that's pretty awesome.
Interesting thing, we have this youth turkey season. It's 2 days. It's before all the pressure. You talk about birds going quiet. It's a perfect time if you have someone interested in turkey hunting to get them out. But we start talking about all your first turkeys. They were after the youth turkey season, right? Mm-hmm. So think about the opportunities that kids have nowadays, but only if they have a mentor, a parent, an aunt and uncle, a grandparent, whoever. Get them out there in the woods and let them experience something that we're all pretty passionate about now. It's funny because none of us took a turkey as a youth hunter. That's kind of interesting that you start thinking about that.
2002 was the first year, I believe, for the youth-only season.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's it then. But
I'm pretty sure it was 02. I think that's right.
It's a great opportunity.
Just make sure they, it depends on, the weather can be cold, snowy even. Take warm clothes. Be prepared for the kid. Don't. That's a little different than it might be on April 15th. The spring weather is. So to make it more enjoyable.
And it's a 2-day season. If it's really, really cold, that afternoon hunt can be super successful. So don't just be discouraged about an afternoon hunt. That can be really good. Is it legal to shoot a turkey on the roost after legal shooting light?
It is not.
Okay.
Cannot shoot a roosted bird in Kentucky.
Can't shoot a roosted bird in Kentucky. Okay. Next question here. This might be our last question of the evening. What kind of call will you be using on opening day, and what do you like most? Slate, box, push, or mouth call? Man, you probably have a whole combination of each of them. If I'm thinking right. What do you think you're going to be using?
I've always got a mouth call.
Yeah.
I do. And backup is a slate, but I'm not very good at those. I got a trimmer in my dominant hand, and so sometimes it's good. It adds a little flair to the sound, but I typically have a mouth call.
Okay.
I love using a slate. I have a really good buddy that has a thriving business selling turkey calls, and I love using his slate calls. But as Zach said, I've always got a mouth call in my mouth. I rarely use a box call. I have them. I'm not as good with them. To me, I can't be subtle with it. It's either screaming at a bird or put it away. And slate and mouth call is my go-to.
I use slate over slate or slate over glass is what I typically use. I've got all the other calls, but I just seem to revert back to one of those two.
They're always, it's fun because I mess around. This is the time of year you're driving down the highway, and if it looks like you see me driving down the road, it looks like I'm talking to myself. I'm probably working a mouth call. They're tuning them up and finding out which one you want. I love the sound of a box call. I love the volume. If you hear a bird gobble and it's so far away and you want to really project volume, but they're just a pain in the butt going. It seems like they're always, you hear them when you're walking through the woods and you go to sit down and it's scratching and it's carrying on. So I love a box call. I always have a box call with me, maybe not in the woods, but in my truck, because if I have a bird that's long distance, the box call is loud. But I typically use slate or glass. Those are the ones that I usually have there right with me with a mouth call handy in case the bird gets close and I need to be able to work it up on the, chin on the stock, ready to go. Then you got to have that mouth call then. Well, it's been a great show. I know what I'm super excited about the season coming in. It seems like every single year, it's that time of year where we just 2 weeks ago had this major cold snap, and now you start thinking about being out in the turkey woods with the sun coming through, hitting you in the face, seeing the woods open up. It's an exciting time to be out in the woods turkey hunting in the spring. One of my all-time favorite activities. Hey, hopefully you're getting out and making plans as well. It's a perfect time to get out and start patterning that shotgun. I can't express that enough. Just grabbing shells or borrowing shells or running to the store the night before, throwing them in a shotgun, you just don't know what you're going to expect. And sometimes spending more does not mean better results. So make sure you get out and you find out that your ammo and your shotgun and your choke tube all work well together. That is a huge plus. Let's run over the season dates real quick. Youth season, April 4th and 5th. That is Easter weekend. The general hunting season this year, it's a long stretch, but it goes from April the 18th all the way out to May the 10th. So there's a big window, a lot of opportunities, a couple weekends there, so get out and take advantage. So I hope you've learned a thing or two about turkey hunting. Make plans to get out in the woods. And remember, hunting and fishing on private property is a privilege. Always ask permission and thank the landowner. I'm your host, Chad Miles. Until next time, hit the woods.